Hey, it's Todd Perry, co-host of Allison and Todd After Hours on Patreon. And I'm biased, but the show's up there with my favorite Allison Rosen podcast. Top 3 at least. Why? Because of the fun topics. We've already discussed getting caught having sex, perverted teppanyaki chefs, filming yourself, Gen Z slang, slay, why Allison needs Ben Gay, astrology, the Adam Carolla show, hip pastors, a fight we had with a prominent politician, backhanded compliments, death, and why German men sit when they pee.
Like, well, I can't stand in pee. So he thought it was like sort of showing off, as if I'd be like, bite my fist. Like, man, I wish I could do that.
Start now and get 2 shows a month for just $2 at patreon.com/Allison and Todd. Not sure if you're ready to subscribe? Check out hours of free previews at patreon.com/Allison and Todd. Allison with 1 L, Todd with 1 D.
Thank you to Poise for sponsoring today's episode. Learn more at poise.com.
Allison Rosen. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her the good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I am here in my studio with someone that it's been far too long since I've been in person with. He is a comedian. He is a commentator. He is a former game show host. He, once again, damn it, it's Ben Gleib. Put your hands together for Ben Gleib. I was just revisiting our last episode, and I spent far too long talking about how I'd lost my ability to do intros. You probably blocked this.
I know. I do actually remember that.
I was listening, and I'm like, "This is what you're going to put out, Allison. This is what you're considering compelling podcasting."
Yeah,
once
it was
you joined,
traumatic for me.
I know, but once you joined the show, it began to sing.
It started flying.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah,
and then you were proud of what you put out.
I was proud of it, but I wasn't proud of how long I spent decrying my inability to do an intro because I couldn't. I was like, I couldn't remember. Like, I'm gonna do it again now.
Now you're gonna decry your regret over talking about your ability to do intros, which I don't know if that's better or worse. It at least seems more layered.
It's more nuanced, but it's like more navel gazy too.
Mm-hmm.
It probably could be studied in a college class. It's it's so self-referential. It's like postmodernism. But anyway, yeah, I was like, does the name come first? Do the credits come first? But anyway, so I fucked it up again. Sort of like when you're like, don't call them this, don't call them this, and then you call them this.
It's true.
I psyched myself out. But anyway, I want everyone to know you're one of the founders of the Nowhere Club, or the founder.
Yeah, Nowhere Comedy. It was my idea, and then I co-founded it with Steve Hofstetter, and then now I run it solo. The
best virtual comedy club that I feel like you invented virtual comedy clubs.
First, and we were the first, and some think we're the best. I'd like to think so. I think we're the only one that really is still rolling.
So we're going to get into all of that because you have a show coming up on October 28th. Guys, you're going to want to block off October 28th on your calendar. Also, your YouTube special, it came out a little over a year ago. It's called The Mad King. You're a lead anchor on The Young Turks. You've done it all.
Thank you.
Oh, and you ran for president.
I did. I was on a whole episode of your podcast talking about that years ago.
Wearing a suit.
My God. Some rules you feel like you want to play when you're real out of the box as a candidate. I think those things help legitimize you, but also it felt very silly going into places where I would normally never do that.
Right.
Dressed that way, but there's video, there's photos, and so you don't want to be caught with your pants down, quite literally.
Yeah,
as a candidate.
And now my eyes are riveted to your neck.
Thank you.
Chest,
my
neck.
plunging neckline.
Yeah, exactly. Because now you're like. Your necklace guy. You've got.
I change a lot, too much probably.
You've got a jack that would go like. Is that a guitar jack? What's happening here? You got a key.
It's a 1/4-inch adapter for a mini headphone plug to a board, and it's functional. You can literally, in a pinch, use this.
Wow!
And
now
so that could go right into your Zoom recorder right there.
Oh my God!
It won't. I'm not going to mess up your.
Yeah,
but it could.
But
here, I'm going to put it right in the back of this thing.
Please do it.
Boom.
And well, that has an adapter in it, but I totally do. Now, what's the significance of that?
I'm a comedian and a broadcaster, and there's not a lot of necklaces that I was able to find that represent that to me and the ability. So I love that it's like a functional thing and represents microphones.
And what's the key?
This was just given to me.
This is my key.
No, yes, I'm a latchkey kid. It was given to me last night. It says "living on it." It's a giving key, and it's just about life's for the living. And a friend of mine who had someone dear to her pass away recently gave it to me, and I had my father pass away recently, and so this was given to me last night. And any other necklaces you'd like to dive into?
I mean, I feel like I'm talking to Busy Phillips here, noted necklace stack woman.
Well, I just came back from Burning Man, and I wore these at the burn.
Okay.
And I don't want to take them off, and I might be wearing them like all the time. I really like the vibe of it. Like as much as I can radically express myself, as much as I can be out of the box these days. That's what I want to do. I'm tired of playing by anybody's rules. I'm not wearing a suit in here ever again.
No, you're not. You're tired of the man's boot on your neck.
You're darn right. That's why we burn the man.
Can you explain Burning Man to me? Because I both don't get it, and I don't quite know what it is, but like I have a sense.
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Ben Gleib.
But I'm going to explain it, and you're going to get what I'm saying, and you're still going to say you're not going to want to go, and it's going to hurt my feelings, but I'll do it anyway.
I don't have to say that if you don't want.
No, I mean, I want you to speak your truth.
Okay.
Okay. It's unlike anything on planet Earth. It's not a festival. It's a life experience that is just unparalleled. There's nothing similar to it. It's like the Disneyland Electrical Parade meets Mad Max if you were living in like a post-apocalyptic future, but a positive, really interesting one. It's like literally feels like living on another planet for a week. And if on that planet there were humans, but humanity evolved completely differently. It's a mixture of radical self-reliance with a gifting economy. There is no money. There is no trade. There is no barter. There is nothing of that nature. It's joyous. People greet you with a hug and like a warm hug. People are dressed so interestingly and amazingly and attractively, and it's just, you express yourself in the freest way. There's every sort of interest you have, every subculture. There's incredible activations and experiences that created by the community that just pop up. So they say the playa provides like magical coincidences and things happen. It is a crazy party, no doubt, but also it's crazy community. It's wonderful community. It's very spiritual. They build a temple every year, and you go there and have these like somber, amazing moments of honoring your deceased loved ones. You can put a shrine up to them there or something meaningful there, and then on the last night they burn the temple, and that's incredibly
And what
powerful.
is the symbolism of the burning of that? And is that
the burning of the temple?
And is that the burning of the man?
No, the burning of the man's a big party. That's the second to last night, and that's what
there's so
most
much
people think
burning.
is the
Yeah.
last. There's some burning.
There's so much burning.
A lot of
yeah.
burning. Yeah, I don't know that it's great for your lungs, but you're pretty far from the burns until
Right.
the embers happen. Then you can go lay in the embers or walk through them, but not lay in. But you can lay next to it. I took a nap next to the temple embers. But
So wait, what's the significance of the man burns? I've
that's
heard that
literally
phrase.
like it
And
is burning
the
the man.
temple.
It's like
it's the
normal
establishment.
society, the
Okay.
default world, the establishment. And it's like we're doing it completely differently and not following those rules. And it's a big party
Until Tuesday when we go back to our rules.
Yeah. Although I've been back about 2 weeks and I have not.
Yeah, no, the necklaces
I cannot.
are
The
in full
necklaces are
force.
there.
Yeah.
I refuse to get a haircut. That's not true. I'll get one soon.
Your hair is not that long.
Thank you. I don't know if that's a compliment, but thank you.
It's an observation.
Right.
But
It's
I
a
mean,
benign observation.
is there such a thing? I think there is.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, look, if this were the 50s, you'd be like a goddamn long hair.
Yeah.
I'm just saying someone listening might, you refusing to cut your hair, they might think that you're someone from the musical Hair.
Right. No, it's I could make this look corporate if I needed to, ish.
Mm-hmm.
And then the temple burn is just like, it's trying to move past whatever emotions you're stuck in with that difficult and traumatic experience, and trying to let go of whatever you've been negatively holding on to. Like, not that you'd let go of your memories of the person, but just kind of whatever's been like keeping you down from that. It's like releasing it and letting it out. And it's just very cathartic and maybe hard to explain way, but
All of this sounds like something I would like, but I have it in my head that Burning Man is something I wouldn't like.
Right.
Does it have a do you feel like if you're aware of what the reputation of it is? I've invited you on my show to talk for the entire time about Burning Man. do you feel like the reputation is different than what it truly is?
Oh, 100%. Because everybody has this negative connotation that has never been. I did too. I was like, Burning Man, that hippie thing where you go and you just do drugs and party all week. And and you're in the dust and you get filthy and everybody's filthy, you know, shower. I'm like, that sounds terrible.
And my sense was that it had this very like uncomfortable, debauched feeling, which maybe it does.
Debauched, is that a conjugation of debauchery?
Yeah.
Uncomfortable debauched?
Like,
explain that.
Like, everyone here is engaging in experimental drugs and experimental sex, and it's just like, this is like a Dionysian kind of like out of control.
If that were the case, I would be much more of an advocate. No, that's not the case. I mean, there is that. Like I said, there's every subculture. There is an orgy dome you can go to. I did not go to it. You had to have if you're a man, you have to have a partner with you. And so wouldn't have even been let in. I did bike by it and I saw that and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't bike by it on purpose. Don't judge me. And
I don't judge you, but I
just stumbled upon it. Truly did.
Sure.
I did.
Sure, you stumbled upon an orgy in the desert. The playa provides. Okay.
It's an orgy dome. Yeah. It's tented. And you get ID'd on the way in. It's like very, and so anyway, I did not go. I've not been in it at any of my 3 burns, but no, there's definitely people are very, free, and there's a lot of people walking around naked. I had dinner and I looked down. There's a dude was naked and he had his penis decorated wearing a hat and he had googly eyes on it, and I didn't need to see that, especially during a meal. Did not need any of that, but it's also normal and like nobody's thrown off by it, which is unusual.
Where was the hat?
I don't think I saw any vaginas either. I only saw a couple penises.
Doesn't that seem like
I
always the way?
Yeah, it is the way. Dudes seem to be more comfortable being naked. But then after the chapel burned, not the temple, the chapel after the burn.
They love burning there.
I was then at the embers of the chapel and just taking it in, and it's really cool. And then there were all these people completely naked dancing by the embers, and it's cold at night, but not near embers of a fire. Right. And there was this beautiful girl that was dancing by them. Naked, fully naked, with like a scarf around herself, like in a movie, like the character you start falling in love with, And
she's played by Kate Hudson, probably
100%. Yep. And I got her name, but I'm like fully clothed with a backpack on and all this stuff, or my satchel rather, and I tried to keep talking, but it felt very awkward to keep talking to her when I was clothed. And it was the first time maybe in history, like only one of the rare situations, to make it less awkward in front of a girl, I had to pull my dick out. I had to get,
Did you actually do
got
it?
fully naked and danced by the fire with these people. She's like, yeah, Ben, now you're getting in the vibe. And I'm like, I fit in here. And then she told me she had 2 boyfriends, and we all got dressed and drove our bikes to some other parties together as a group, but it was cool.
Wait,
she's very nice.
Is she part of a throuple? What's happening?
No, separate boyfriends.
Okay. And are you?
I keep hearing a lot of this lately. People with multiple 2 boyfriends.
So they're just like polygamous,
polyamorous. Yes.
I sound like a fusty old lady not knowing all this.
And then but there's everything. There's children there. There's family friendly things. There's incredible art. There's food that people give you. There's miso soup. There's that they just hand out to you.
Yeah,
there's tea.
If you can't, if money is not good there, how does everyone eat and drink and stuff like that?
Well, the camps just provide these things as a gift.
As part of your ticket price?
No, people just bring it and provide it. Ticket price got nothing to do with any of that. But then you also just bring your own food.
Okay.
Or if you're part of a camp, you're part of a meal plan if you're paying for your camp.
So there's not concession stands or anything?
Zeros. You cannot buy anything. And you're surviving in the desert in very extreme conditions. And this year especially, if you heard about the floods, it was pretty crazy. But it was very extreme conditions. But I was part of this legendary camp called Robot Heart. It was an amazing time. And we had a meal program, 2 meals a day. And then you chip in, you work shifts, and you help prepare the meals, a couple of times throughout the week. And then everybody gets to enjoy this great food.
Who puts this on?
Well, each of the individual camps literally build like their own town, like their own infrastructure. Like it's not cheap to stay in a lot of these camps. And then they use the money, they pull it, they literally like bring in generators and lift trucks and build trucks, and you sign up for build week or for strike week, and you help break down or build up your camp. I spent 3 days breaking down my camp this time, a couple hours each time. And you just, people create this very elaborate infrastructure. They're very proud of it, and create art cars that then provide parties out in the playa and dances and all kinds of crazy things. And I it's very techno heavy rather, very house music heavy. I don't care particularly about house music or DJs or dancing that much. I do it when I'm there a bit because it's fun and that's where the girls are. But I do it for all the other. I love the random experiences. I love that I stumbled upon a diner in the middle of the desert, and you go in there and there were like dudes with beards with wearing aprons pretending like they were 70-year-old crotchety old lady waitresses at a diner, and they would like come and talk shit to you, and then you would order coffee. They give you hot coffee and you order the beef, and they all gather around you and go like, ding dong, you ordered the beef. Ding ding dong, you ordered the beef. And it's like weird rituals they do, and then no matter what you order on the menu, they serve everybody hot grilled cheese. But it's just like such a unique experience, like this diner they just built in the middle of nowhere. And I also, this burn, I was the first comedian in Burning Man history, as far as we were able to find out, that headlined Burning Man.
Oh, you performed there. That's so cool.
And so they created Pineapple Motel, this other awesome camp, which is one of these necklaces too. After the performance, the founder, they can't put it on my neck. And this is
Ben is holding up something that bears no resemblance to a pineapple or a hotel.
Look at the back.
Are there pineapples on there?
It's pineapple skin.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then this is the spot where the playa is topographically on the map.
I take it back.
And but it was the most surreal way to ever perform. They set up a rug in the middle of a circle of 7 art cars that were like 100 feet away, and there was like 1,000 people surrounding me. I was in the round, sitting there on the floor, standing, and then people on art cars standing above them, out in the desert by the trash fence. And normally you perform by a trash fence, your career is going very poorly.
Right.
But this was the opposite.
That's awesome.
So you're going to go?
I mean,
you're very dirty. You get very dusty. You can shower, though. If you're in a camp that has hot showers, you can shower.
Did yours have hot showers?
Yep.
Did Robot Monkey, what was it? Robot Heart? Or Pineapple Hotel?
Motel.
Whatever. Okay. I mean, I'm very intrigued. It sounds like stepping into like a giant role-playing thing.
It is
even though I've never
like
role-played.
You got to apply a name.
Yeah.
Everybody gets kind of assigned, and you find your name. It gets given to you by somebody.
Is there self-service out there?
Nope. Which is the best part of it. There are occasionally, very sporadically, you'll get service for a second. You can like text your mom, you're okay. But pretty much there's no service. Some people have Starlinks and have Wi-Fi now, which didn't used to be the case. And you're on e-bikes, you're like zipping around, but generally you're disconnected for the whole time, and it was magical. That's the best part, really.
I have 2 more questions, then we can move on.
Sure.
Where were the googly eyes and where was the hat on his penis? I need to picture it.
There was like a scrunchie that was supposed to be the hat. And the googly eyes were on his balls, I'm pretty sure. I didn't study very closely. Oh my God, this is so different
than I expected.
Oh, really?
I was thinking like, okay, here's his penis.
Yep.
Balls down here, And like the hat would be on the top.
The hat was on the top.
And the eyes right below. Like on his shaft.
Yeah, maybe the eyes were on the shaft. I really can't remember.
You just know that you saw googly eyes.
I saw googly eyes. I made fun of it in a friendly way that he laughed, and I averted my eyes as quickly as possible.
And then my other question, did you have some epiphanies, realizations, awarenesses, awakenings?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to integrate my experience. It's a thing. You do decompressions after Burning Man, and you try to and I took a couple days in Tahoe, and I've been trying to take the week and a half since here, and I haven't processed it all yet. But yeah, I mean, just basically some of my during and post awakenings are like, I don't want to chase anything anymore. I want to be in flow. It's flow, not chase. It's something that keeps popping in my head. I just don't want to not express myself anymore. So like I called a friend out on something during the burn that was on my mind that I wanted to call her out on, that I would have normally not done. I would have just internalized it. Can you tell me like what kind of thing it was? It was just something a little bit insensitive. I think that I don't think she was thinking she was doing that. But then when I explained it, she's like, wow, I didn't realize that it was insensitive to you. And I'm really sorry. And I think we're closer from it. But even if it hadn't been that way, I don't want to live not in my truth anymore in any way, wherever I can. So things like that, I think, came out of it. Just that I, want to focus more on finding my tribe of people that are like very accepting and wanting to hang with me at all times. And again, they're also not trying to chase just whatever's in flow. And like, I really like a lot of the vibe. A lot of people who are burners, they're very welcoming. They're very complimentary. They're very warm. They're very affectionate. They're very loving people. And you don't really experience that level of that in life normally. And I'd like carrying that vibe on post-burn as much as possible. So I've been hanging a lot. Unfortunately, it means I have to go to Venice a bunch.
Is that where they all are?
Venice and Topanga. And they're both very far.
Of course, that's where they are.
Yep.
I have a couple friends in Venice as well. I've never known anyone who lived in Topanga, but I do enjoy Inn of the Seventh Ray. Have you been to this restaurant?
No.
It is like magical, mystical, expensive. The food is. The last couple times we've gone, it's so pretty. It's like twinkly lights. People have weddings there.
Oh, wow.
It's very Topanga though. It's so Topanga that I commented to Daniel that I had seen. So we were sitting outside and I saw like a mouse dart by. And then this woman like stood at a different table was like, I hope you're not bothered by a mouse. This is their land after all. like a land attribution for the mouse.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, like those are very inconvenient locations.
They are.
from where
I used to really avoid going to Venice at all costs. Someone's like, "This is the best thing ever, Venice." I'm like, "I'm out." Didn't ever want to go to Venice. I believe I tweeted in the past. And I believe it to be true. It's faster sometimes to fly to New York than drive to Venice. You can go clear across country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just terrible sometimes. But I've been to Venice like 7-8 times in the last like month. So I guess I don't have a choice, and I don't know who I am anymore. I don't recognize myself.
No, now you're someone who goes to like, how's the parking
in Venice?
Yeah,
I've actually had a good parking flow recently, and I used to hate it there, but I think I'm more connected to like the vibe of it.
Venice into your heart.
I guess so, because I'm finding parking easy.
Wow,
wildly.
When you least chase it, the parking comes to you.
They say that's in The Secret, right? That parking's a big part of The Secret.
Yes. Oh my God.
And I always believed it was.
If the law of attraction is about parking, I would be into it.
Part of it is. They talk about that in The Secret, literally about parking.
For real?
They talk about parking.
I thought you were joking.
No, they really do. And I understand why that is, because I do largely believe in the law of attraction, and parking especially is something that works for it because there's no one who's willing against it. Like, there's always going to be people that have to leave where they're parked and people that are coming. And so you just need to like connect to like, oh, someone's going to be leaving when I pull up, and believe that. And then it happens more likely. But you ever like get in your own head and you're like, there's not going to be parking when I get there. And then of course there's not parking there because you're in this like shitty mood. That's really all the law of attraction, I think, is. It's just not willing yourself out of.
Right.
Remember when I used to be funny? I used to have an edge, and now I'm just so accepting and warm towards everybody.
This is a good show for that though, because I'm into like emotional truths and all that stuff. But you know what? I was sitting here debating whether to share or not. Sitting here debating whether to share that like this thing of like there's never going to be parking. I recently have had to learn to practice Zen while being extremely constipated. And I won't go into detail.
I mean, that seems like a lot of the detail already. What?
Yeah, I know. But just this feeling of like, what if this never happens for me? What if this is the rest of my life?
Never going to the restroom again, is what you're saying.
Yeah, or like never. Ben, I don't get the vibe that you like to talk about scatological things.
You're incredibly spot on with that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go on, but listeners, if you want to hear more what I'm talking about, let me know. I think there's like a universal like no one wants to hear it.
Yep. It's like the main reason I don't like it is I just, aside from it makes me slightly uncomfortable, but people really, it's what you just said, they don't like it. Like I see comedians do it and they think it's great, but every time they do, I see and I feel the audience go like, ugh. And I don't want to ever create that feeling in somebody.
Right.
I want people to be joyous and laughing and fun or offended or thrown off.
Right.
But I don't want people to be grossed out by anything I say. I don't see the purpose.
That's fair.
But if it's something that's
it's my passion.
But if
talking about discussing things is my passion.
I don't want to inhibit your passion. Like if it's something that actually has a purpose to you to say, I can handle it. And I've gotten better at it.
No,
Getting a dog has made it better for me.
Yeah.
Like I used to have a hard ban in my home with even like my partners in the past using the P word when it comes to referencing even the dog's bowel movements. And I still don't.
Really?
I call it number 2.
Okay.
And I prefer it to be referred to that way.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be on a walk. She'd be like, "Did you go at P word?" And I'm like, "Oh, why might I have to hear that word?"
What's so
while I'm
funny
walking
is
every day, twice a day.
I thought the P word was going to be pussy or penis.
No.
It's now for you, and I'm not going to say it.
Sure.
I'm going to spell
Thank
it.
you. Sure.
Is the P word P-O-O or P-O-O-P?
God, I hate both.
Okay.
Hate both.
P-O-O-P-Y? P-O-O-P-O-O?
All of them.
When you have a kid, you learn all the terms.
Can't stand
Okay.
all of them.
Interesting. So number
they got
two.
progressively worse the way that list there.
Interesting.
Number two.
Number two is what you call
And like
it.
I can still do the things I have to do. I still wipe my dog after walks, but I just don't need to talk about it if it's not necessary. It's like
You wipe
know,
your dog?
I do wipe because sometimes he has a little bit of an issue and he has to be a little bit wiped.
Okay.
I got somehow very lucky the first 3 years of his life because there was never an accident that we saw, but then all of a sudden there was, and I had then wiped since, and there's need to do it oftentimes, and I can't believe that the first 3 years we didn't do it. So we give him a quick wipe, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to say we, I do.
Is this like a toilet paper or like a baby wipe situation?
Dog wipes.
They have dog wipes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like I've led a charmed life.
You have. You're giving your dog baby wipes? What a lucky.
She's led a charmed life. No, on occasion, there will be a need to do a little wiping, but oftentimes it's like from her fur.
Right.
And then I think it's been like a baby wipe or a wet paper towel or something, but knock on wood, it hasn't been a regular thing. How is Henry Horse?
He's doing good. He's doing really good. He had like a hot spot in his arm for a long time that I couldn't get out for like 2-3 months. He was wearing a cone, then a soft cone. And then I don't know why the vet didn't even like know this or like barely like softly suggested it after like desperation. There's a sleeve you can get that just goes around their torso and it just covers the one arm. And that was the best solution. It was comfortable. And I just had that on for like the last bunch of time and now it's healed finally.
Good.
He got it off himself. He's an escape artist. He somehow escaped from his own sleeve that you can't escape from.
Henry Houdini Horse.
He really is. He's a Houdini Horse 100p. Not the other.
No, I know.
Yep. And he's doing good. How's your dog doing?
Wendy? She's 9. How old is Henry?
Turning 6 in January.
Okay.
January.
January. You know what's funny? Do you have an age in your head that you think you are, like when you're not thinking about it?
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how old I was. Way older than 24. But I realized like inside my default age that I think I am, and I don't know if this is the case anymore, but like for a while it was 24. Sometimes I think to myself, is Wendy 6 or 9? In my brain, she's 6. The age your dog is, but she's actually 9. She has a heart condition, which is very common in Cavaliers. She's doing okay though, but I don't like that she's 9.
She seems a little slower.
She is.
Than she was last time I was here even a year ago. Because it used to be a tiny little source of anxiety how much Wendy would like jump up on me with like scratches, and I'm like,
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. But I was just always a little bit like, is she at some point gonna like maybe bite me? And then today she jumped up a little, but it was it was not intimidating anymore.
Right. A year ago was Zoom, so I think it was many more years ago. Yeah.
Oh, so it must have been a few years.
Yeah.
ago.
Well, I'll tell you, she's never bitten anyone ever.
Oh, that's nice.
She does not bite at all.
That's nice.
You could take her food away while she's eating.
That's nice.
But
I was bitten terribly by a dog recently, and so for the first time, I'm like a tiny little drop skittish.
Got it. I feel bad now.
I was bitten in the penis and balls.
I do need to hear what happened, but I just want to just say, I feel bad.
I'm healed.
That I feel bad.
Don't worry, ladies.
I feel bad that Wendy's.
A lot of people saying better than ever down there. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's like an improvement,
the dog kind of
right?
held on and pulled and made a lengthen thing.
Yeah. Well, I feel bad that Wendy made you feel skittish.
Oh, no. I don't mean majorly, but just a little bit. Like as I walked up now, I just thought like I'm going to probably deal with Wendy scratching at me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It is,
I'm
but
still
it's not.
happy to come.
Because years ago, I was a guest on a famous podcaster's podcast. I'll tell you off air.
Sure.
And he had a giant dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this dog just jumped up and just its nails just went boop. And it like drew blood. And I remember sitting there talking to him afterwards, all like cheery, but thinking like, my hands really hurt.
Damn.
And with you and I both have littleish dogs.
Yep.
And it's true. Like littleish dogs can get away with so much more. But like if you have a big dog, if it jumps up, they can knock someone over.
Oh, 100.
So, yeah.
I've been pushed against the wall by pit bulls a couple of times, and it's not fun.
Scary.
And the owner's like, hey, they're playing. I'm like, I'm being pushed against the wall by a human-sized aggressive creature.
Right.
You might think it's playing, and they might, but I do not.
But I just want to say one more time, I do feel really bad though, because like we could so easily put Wendy in her crate. Next time you come, Wendy's going in her crate.
Now I'm good. No, I'm good. It was nice to see Wendy now.
What happened with the dog that bit you recently?
I went back to this lady's place, this girl's place.
In Venice?
No.
Oh.
No. But this probably wouldn't have happened in Venice.
No, the dogs are so chill there.
So chill. Yeah, they're all on ayahuasca over there.
Yeah.
You know? They're purging in the corner.
I was gonna say they're throwing up, sweating.
It was actually just 2.5 weeks after my dad died. I was invited out to go drinking, and I'm like, I need this. Sounds like the right time to go out for the first time. Got a little drunk, had an edible or two, went back to this girl's house, and this girl
To have sex?
To do whatever might happen, you know what I mean? But we'd been seeing each other, so it was very likely that could have happened.
Okay.
But earlier that day, I was like, I don't want to go over. I don't want to spend the night there because I don't want your dog to bite me. Like the dog was that kind of like intense. Mm-hmm. And then she let the dog out of the upstairs bedroom where he'd been kept all night, and he just sprinted downstairs into the kitchen where I was like leaned up against the counter, dove into the air, didn't make eye contact with the dog, didn't say hi to the dog, dove into the air, latched on to my dick and balls. I had to throw him off of me.
Oh my God!
And because
I thought you were joking that that's where he bit you.
Nope.
Oh my God!
And because I was a bit drunk, I didn't even know I was bit for like a minute.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a minute later, I was like, ow, what is that? And I went and looked, and there was blood everywhere.
Oh my God!
She had to take me to the ER.
Oh my God!
She didn't even think it was that serious. I think because she maybe did want to have sex and wanted to keep things going downtown at Chinatown. And so her gay best friend, who
Is that how they say
that's
sex now?
how I refer to it.
Okay.
And people always have an issue with it, but I think it makes very clear what I'm talking about.
They have an issue like they're confused, or they just feel like it might be problematic.
I don't think this is a problematic issue. I just think they're confused. Like, why Chinatown? I don't know why either, but I just like
But
that it
she's not
rhymes.
Asian.
She's not Asian.
Okay.
I just feel like going downtown clearly kind of connotes sex, but I like adding the rhyme to it.
Right.
Going downtown to Chinatown, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't
You
it
just
kind of feel
you
that
just
way?
winked
I just
at me.
winked at you, yep.
Okay, I understand.
And you get it now?
Now I get it.
And so she's like, I think it's fine. And I'm like, I called for her gay best friend to come into the room.
Oh, because
there was a man there.
Because he has the same equipment.
The same equipment. And he looked at it and he was like, this is a problem. You got to go to the doctor. So I went to the ER. And I'm all healed now. And
Did they have to do
a lot of people say
stitches?
it's improved. It's like an 11 out of 10.
Stitches? What happened?
No, they said
Disinfection?
it's a very hard area to stitch typically. So I just had to like treat it myself and dress the wound like twice a day for like 10 days. And then it healed great. Thank God. Luckily, the part of that was bitten on the shaft part,
Where the googly eyes go?
right, was covered by googly eyes. And so I'm fine now. No, it was that was more superficial than the deeper puncture was on the testicles, which luckily is a very wrinkly area that would be very hard to see any sort of scar anyway. And so that you don't see anything. There's nothing wrong no more.
Did you
A
know?
lot of people say I've won the award for the best situation down there they've ever seen. A lot of people are saying that, covers magazines and stuff.
What is it called?
Ball of the year.
Ball of the year.
Ball of the year. The Bali Awards.
Congrats.
It takes place in Bali. Is where they
Okay.
you have to
That makes
travel.
sense. Yeah.
Half balls will travel. To
And
Bali.
what is the award?
That's just a round. It's hard to keep on a shelf. It's round and a little mushy, but it's
They
round.
should get a stand for it. Or like just a hand.
A hand
A
for
hand
it would be
on a
perfect.
sta-
Little
hand on a
cup
stand.
A hand on a stand for your
Bali.
balls to the wall, or just go balls to the wall and nail it up there.
Yes. Oh my
another way
God.
to go.
You're
There's a lot of
an
chances.
idea factory.
You are too.
We are an idea factory.
We're two factories of ideas.
That's right.
Competing
We're,
for best ball award design.
you're a
There's your
shoo-in
killer
now.
dog scratching at the door right now. I just heard it.
Was there a scratch?
I
I
think
think it
so.
was me making sound here, but
Oh, okay.
but clearly you've developed a bit of a phobia.
No, it's fine.
Makes sense. Now,
Your
what
dog
was
can eat
this?
me. I don't give a shit.
What? Again, I know that you're going to file this under bullshit that owners say because of your experience, but I swear to God, Wendy has never even snarled or bared her teeth.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. I've always just felt. If I hope you're not offended by my speaking honestly, but
No, I appreciate
I've
it.
always felt a little bit like Wendy, like has a little bit of a crazy look in her eye.
Oh, she does,
And
because
so
she's
it
got one
throws
eye
me
that's a
off.
little
Yeah,
bit like
so it's just a little
wonky.
bit. I'm not relating exactly to like. I can't tell if this dog likes me or thinks I'm an intruder. I always have a little bit of that sense from Wendy.
Yes.
And so that's, I guess, the main source of and then she comes and jumps up, and it's not like she wants me to, like, I think I've tried to pet her head and she kind of doesn't like it, or so.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's,
I know.
there's a creature there that's just, uncertain about my presence in the room.
Yes. And I am just she's uncertain about everyone's presence in the room. And then she calms down and then she likes to be pet. I am just reassuring you. I've never even seen her snarl or anything. Like, she really is the most docile.
Great to know.
Yes. Look up Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. They're like, that's like their main thing, is that they are like not aggressive at all.
I'm not going to look it up. I was going to take your word for it.
I demand.
Okay.
Google it right now. Wait, so what was this gal's, the one that you wanted to go to downtown to Chinatown with? Or she wanted to. What was her reaction? It's her dog.
Yeah.
Was she like, Google the breed? I swear to God.
No, she was a mixture of very apologetic and mortified, but also like joking about it too much for the next couple of weeks. And I was like, can you maybe let me set the joke tone of my own recovery process here? Like, at the ER, she said to the doctor, like, just chimes in. She's in the ER room with me and says to the doctor, like, so how long until we can, do the business again? I'm like, is this the question? Like, can I ask that? About how long, doctor?
Yeah.
But
we've
she
got
was
2
very
tickets
sweet.
in Chinatown.
The next day she went and got me all kinds of like dressings and things, and so I could properly sanitize, and distilled water, because I Googled that was helpful, and then I never used it because it's easier in the shower, and I just gambled, A lot of people saying I'm winning awards for the best recovery.
Right.
A lot of people have been making that comment off air.
A lot of championship spirit.
That's what it is. That's what it is, yeah.
But has her dog ever done this before?
Her dog has bitten a couple people.
So that's
mostly
yes.
when the person's drunk. So for some reason the dog senses alcohol and doesn't enjoy it. I don't know how the dog knows.
Amazing.
Dog's in rehab.
Is this a big dog or a small dog?
It's a French bulldog. Oh. They're tiny but pudgy and very heavy.
Yeah.
Like, this dog jumped up and I was like, it was like the weight of like 19 footballs to get this dog off of me.
Right. They're
pudgy. I don't like them. I don't find them attractive. I don't get the point. People love them to have them.
They're very popular right now.
They're like, and they make these snarling noises, and they can barely breathe, and they snore. It's like, I don't understand. It's like adopting Norm from Cheers as your dog.
I feel that way about English bulldogs.
I don't even know the difference.
They're just so whereas a Frenchie...
Norm from Cheers is a nice guy. Norm mixed with Cliff's demeanor and Norm's kind of body stoutness.
An English bulldog is like even more slobbery and smush-faced.
Like Hooch, like Turner and Hooch.
I don't remember what Hooch looked
Google
like.
it right now.
I will. Okay, I'm just going to search Hooch. Do you think it'll come up if I do that? Hooch dog.
Go Turner and Hooch, or her Hooch dog would work. I'm Googling right now. French Cavalier?
No, English bulldog.
The French Cavalier you said for me to
Cavalier
look up.
King Charles Spaniel.
Cavalier King Charles, known for their aggressive nature.
Oh my God.
That's not true. I lied about that completely.
Oh, I accidentally typed Hooch.dog and that did not pull up.
Hooch.dog?
Yeah, I accidentally typed that. Oh, you know what? No, that looks like a Mastiff, actually.
A Mastiff mistake to own.
Okay. I'm going to pull up English Bulldog. This is it.
Oh, jeez.
They're even more.
That doesn't look like Hooch. Hooch looks different.
Yeah, I think Hooch is. Well, let's just find out. What kind of dog was Hooch?
Turner and Hooch.
Oh, a Dogue de Bordeaux. I've never heard of this dog.
I could have told you that if
Americans became aware of the Dogue de Bordeaux when he appeared as drooling, messy Hooch in the 1989 Tom Hanks film Turner and Hooch.
A lot of slobber from that dog.
Yeah. Is Hooch a French Mastiff? Is a question someone asked. So anyway, okay.
I'd like to apologize for my Mastiff pun a little bit earlier. If you guys play back Allison's reaction, she gave me the absolute bare minimum you could ever respond to somebody's pun. You literally went, It was like you had to respond with something and you wanted me to know you hated it.
No, I liked it though.
You did?
No, look, Apparently, I'm not very expressive.
You're expressive sometimes.
I know, so I don't know why I gave you so little.
know.
What I'm being accused.
Apparently, I'm not very expressive. We'll be right back. I mean, they're all over the map with expression. You just hated my pun. And I'm known as the Punderful Wizard of Ha-Has.
Of ha's?
Of Ha-Has.
Oh my God. Who calls you that? The mad ones?
The mad ones call me that.
That's your fanship.
Yep.
The Punderful Wizard of Ha-Has?
Correct.
Now, is that said earnestly, or is that, I mean, I get that you make puns and you're funny, but is that like, does everyone kind of laugh at how silly that name is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a title that I came up with on my other show at SDSC, and that was kind of like the precursor to Nowhere that I host monthly with Jodie Sweetin and Chris Bowers and Rachel Gallagher, and I won pun con. We would do puns a lot. I would have a very pun heavy game we do on the show, and then I won a pun contest against the Punisher, one of our fans, Jeremy Day, part of the Isolation Nation. So it was Punisher versus the Punderful Wizard of Ha-Has, and I won. And so, I mean, they don't like refer to me that way, like as nomenclature if they see me.
Right.
But I'm known as that.
Got it.
And they probably mock it behind closed doors.
No. I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so. Listen,
They also call me the vintage lady with the tiny hands, you know?
The vintage lady with the tiny hands?
You're damn right.
Explain.
Well, I started having these vintage ladies, these like figurines I had, and I would like put on camera in place of myself sometimes. And I also had those like tiny plastic hands you put on one finger.
Yeah.
And I would like put those up into frames as though it was my hands. Early in the pandemic when I went from presidential candidate to prop comic, because I wanted to do a complete 180 and I just needed like levity in my life, and I was being very silly and I was having a lot of fun with props. And there were 3 other hosts, so I got to like, you know, sit back and just figure out weird prop things. And then I just thought it'd be very funny to like sometimes introduce myself at virtual shows as the vintage lady with the tiny hands, because what a silly thing for a man to introduce himself as.
What are these vintage ladies you have?
They're really cool. I wish I could like find a photo easily of one, but they're really cool vintage ladies. They're like from 1940 or something.
Are they dolls?
They are little like plastic figurines, but it's really hard to like explain. Oh, there it is. Found a picture of one right there.
What did you type?
This is one of my vintage ladies.
Oh, okay.
I put vintage lady literally in my camera roll search because I screenshot a text exchange with someone who referred to it and it came right up. Do you see them now?
I'm trying to wait. Let me see her again.
Japan. They have slightly Japanese faces, maybe, but they're lovely.
So yeah, it is. It's like a figurine. What is this? Like 6 inches high, or 5 or 4?
Like
3.
3 inches, 3.5 inches.
A little like.
Some refer to it as 8 and say it's the best ever, though.
After the dog bite.
Correct.
Yes. So I would say it's like a little molded plastic. Is it plastic or is it
Plastic.
like porcelain? Okay.
Plastic.
Like a little, yeah. And she's wearing like a smart 40s looking outfit.
Yep. And I sometimes even sell these at my shows to just for the diehard fans that know. You see all the playa dust inside my phone still? I
didn't.
out?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I got to get that out of there.
Wait, you sell them at your shows because you have that many or you get more?
I have a good number of them.
Why do you have
them? And I sell them for a pretty high price point because they're collectible and they're already a vintage item. Plus they have the, you know, the lore of all of our comedy.
Right.
And so I don't want to get rid of them really. And so I don't mind being a high price point. I mean, it's not inaccessible of a price point.
What is the price point?
$75. What do you think of that price point?
I feel like that price point says this is an heirloom.
Yeah. That's what I want it to be.
Why do you
I don't want people getting it that don't even know what it is or
Right.
don't value it. I did have one fan buy 2 to make earrings out of them.
Wow.
So there's that.
Why do you have so many vintage ladies?
I had just purchased them at a store once, a vintage toy store many times, and I bought like a couple dozen of them. And
What was the plan though?
I just liked them. I like collecting weird random things. I have them on my desk behind me, and it just seemed fun to have a collection of like very obviously vintage ladies. And you know, I've bowled at them a couple times with like a little rubber ball.
Oh.
There's a lot of things you could do with them.
And are they all dressed differently?
They're all dressed exactly the same. Their
Oh, my
faces though
God.
are a little bit different. So they look
Well,
like a
that's cool.
troop of like, sometimes I've had like them against army soldiers set up on the table. But sometimes
they're
their
like
faces are a
Lady
little
G.I.
different.
Joes.
The faces can be a little deformed sometimes. They're like Lady G.I. Joes, right?
But not green. Are G.I. Joes all green?
G.I. Joes, I think, are all... No.
No, I'm thinking of little army
There's also
men.
beige one. Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking... I meant little army men, too, is what I meant to say. Going against them.
Right. Well, No wonder-
I've had them face up against dinosaur figurines.
Who wins?
Oh, the ladies win.
Oh, good.
They're not
I like
extinct.
that.
Yeah.
I like that. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Strength in numbers.
This episode of Allison Rosen is Your New Best Friend is brought to you by Poise Ultra Thins. One thing I know for sure is that when you're a new mom, you'll take all the help and advice you can get. I could have used some advice about what to do about postpartum bladder leakage and also partum. Is that the right word? The bladder leakage that happens while you're pregnant. I know everyone's, the joke is like when you got to cross your legs when you sneeze. I found actually coughing was a little more messy, I'm going to say. And that actually continued. That has continued. Just a little bit of TMI, but no big deal because I have Poise Ultra Thins. I learned the hard way that period pads are not designed to help with bladder leaks. Poise Ultra Thins are, though. They're essential. They're specifically designed for bladder leakage. They keep you 10 times drier than the leading period pad. Poise Ultra Thins keep you feeling clean, dry, and fresh and offer with and without wings to flex with your body. Poise helps me make the most out of every day. It takes Poise. Learn more at poise.com. And I also want to talk to you guys about BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you ever find that just as you're trying to fall asleep, your brain suddenly won't stop talking? Do your thoughts start racing right before bed or at any other inopportune moments? I feel like my brain never takes a break. It's always going. It turns out one great way to make those racing thoughts go away is to talk them through. Therapy gives you a place to do that so you can get out of your negative thought cycles and find some mental and emotional peace. You guys know I am a big fan of therapy. It has helped me immensely. I recommend it for everyone who's open to it and even people who aren't open to it. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/bestfriend today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/bestfriend. Okay. The last time we talked,
Yep.
you were engaged.
Correct.
What happened?
It's a good question. We're no longer engaged. That's not because we got married. The other way. We went the other way.
Right. Now you're just boyfriend, girlfriend.
Correct. And hopefully soon, first date.
And then you'll meet.
Yeah, that would be great to undo.
But eventually you will not know her.
Correct. Well, I'm pretty close to that already. I mean, I definitely don't know her already, so there's that. But
you guys have been together for a long time. And I want everyone to know, I asked ahead of time if it's okay that I ask about this. I don't want people to think I'm just being an asshole.
Yep. And I said, it's no problem. And then I also didn't realize that I don't have clearly in my head like what things I want to say or don't, but it's okay. I don't really care. I don't think I've been treated particularly nicely. And so I don't mind. I'm not trying to, talk any trash, but just speaking my own emotional truth without naming names, I think is fine to do. I just think we started drifting apart. We started not seeing things eye to eye, went to therapy that didn't work. I think she gave up on the idea of continuing therapy. I think more than anything, when we got engaged, she thought that like some of my personality and or behaviors would change and that I would like settle down and like, oh, now I'm an engaged man. I'm going to be married soon. And maybe she wanted more of a standard issue husband. And I was not becoming that. And I think she's like, oh, well, then maybe I don't want this. And I don't know why she thought that. It's a ridiculous thought, I think, but I'm sure some people do.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who get married thinking it's going to solve problems, have kids thinking it's going to solve problems.
It always
makes it worse, yeah.
Always makes it worse. And so, I was not perfect by any stretch. I regret some of the things that I said and did, but none of it was ever done maliciously. None of it was ever done with a bad intent. And I'm just a flawed person like anyone. And I think the thing that is hardest for me looking back on it is I feel as though I was really there for her during her hard times and emotional needs. And I feel like she did not reciprocate that for me.
Now, are you talking about since you broke up?
No, before.
Okay, before.
Yeah, I mean, she broke up with me instead of being there for me when I needed her.
Oh, so it was in the midst of when you needed her.
And just had a low moment for myself. And I think she was like, I don't want this. And I was like, well, wow, I proposed to you after helping you through quite a lot of difficult things. And so I feel pretty, slighted by that.
Yeah.
Plus, beyond that, the thing that makes me, I'm probably phrasing some things now more starkly than I have the couple times I talked about this on other podcasts, is because the new development that just makes me just have no fucks left to give about this topic is when my father passed away, she did not reach out to me in any respect. Not even an email, not even like a 2-line email saying, I'm so sorry about what happened. I mean, to me, it's such an unconscionable, unfathomable, pretty despicable thing. He was a dad to her essentially for years and years. And
how long did you guys been together?
4.5 years. Lived with me for 3.5 years.
Right.
And I just can't believe that.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty forgiving person. I hang out in Venice now. I'm very forgiving.
Yeah, you're going with the flow. You're
going
not chasing.
with the flow. I'm not chasing, but I just can't understand that. And I'm trying to even have grace there, and I understand that it's probably not out of hate or true rudeness that she didn't reach out. I think she is probably weak and feels as though she just can't reopen any wounds with me and doesn't think she's strong enough to be there for me at a time like that or anything. But I just still think you get over it. And something like that, when it's life and death, when the person, I think I probably meant more to her than anybody, outside of her family in the course of those years. She wanted to spend her life with me. We ended things not out of any sort of real animus, just it was a realization it didn't work. We were talking about still trying to work it out at the very, very end. And then she just decided really not to. And then she kind of thought I did. So even though it feels like she left, she expressed in our limited communications afterward that she thought I, in the end, abandoned the idea of not working it through, which is, I don't think, quite accurate, but she saw it that way. And so when you were considering even still working it out, to not reach out, it just doesn't make sense. And
is there any way she
really hurtful?
That she knows for sure.
Unfortunately, she even handled that poorly, because I emailed her to tell her the news. I'm like, I figured you'd like to know this fact. You should know this fact. And the next day, her mom texted my mom, like a very generic text, like, we wanted to express our condolences for your loss. We found Nate to be very funny and nice. Blank family, and signed the text on behalf of the family.
Maybe she feels like
though that covered it,
right?
When in fact it's just the absolute opposite.
Yeah,
in my eyes, at least, it shows that she knew. And it shows that she thought that was okay, and that she couldn't, as an adult human that wanted to marry another human being and wanted to merge lives with them and maybe be a mother herself and all these things, couldn't even handle a condolence message to the love of her life that she put it directly to me, or even, and I even realized subsequently, or even to my mom.
Yeah.
Text my mom yourself. But no, any of that. And my mom even wrote right back to her mom and said, thank you so much for this message. This is so incredibly difficult. We're stunned. My dad died suddenly, and didn't even write back to that. Like, not even like a second text back. So it just seemed like they were just going through a motion of like, we have to acknowledge this so that maybe he doesn't reach out again. I mean, it's just wild to me.
Yeah. Oh,
wild.
I'm really sorry.
Thanks.
I'm really sorry.
Thanks. It's, but
go ahead.
I'm just glad in the end that, even though that was the most deeply hurtful thing I've literally ever experienced in my life, and I thought at a time of such sadness and difficulty, to make me have to think about her also, and to make me have to be extra sad about how she treated me in that moment, was pretty incredibly wrong to do and hurtful. But the positive is that it completely made me realize without a shadow of a doubt that it was the right decision, and that I dodged a bullet by getting out of that relationship, because how could I be with someone that could be so emotionally cold? I don't understand. Had
you been a little uncertain before that? Like, were you thinking, oh, maybe I should?
A little. I mean, it was very hard for me to get out of the breakup. And, the last 6 months of my dad's life, the first 5 months of that was my dad and mom like counseling me every day on the phone. Like I was in therapy, but also like my parents were every detail helping me work through it. And I was crying all the time, and it was very hard breakup for me. And so then the last month I finally got over it, and my dad got to see me happy again, becoming happy again. So that was very good. But yeah, I think until that last month,
Right.
And probably, you never know if this didn't happen that way at the very end. Somebody came running back and apologizing for major things and said they did work and realized this and that. Obviously I loved the person very much and was very invested in her. And so I probably would have considered it, but I would never consider it now. How could you ever trust somebody or rely on somebody emotionally who literally couldn't be there for you in the most basic, tiny little way?
Yeah.
That every enemy of, I'd literally, people I haven't spoken to in years, made amends, came to the funeral, were so kind, sent food, offered to do anything they could. Fans of mine, people I don't know, wrote me whole letters. And to have someone that was the love of my life not send a one-line email saying, I'm so sorry about what happened, is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It's really is one of the things also that I needed to process, and I don't know how to. The biggest negative of it really for me, aside from a lot of lost time. And by the way, if any of your listeners are interested in a great engagement ring, emerald cut.
Oh, wow.
Lab made, not a blood diamond.
How many
Really
carats?
nice. 2.69 carats.
Wow. That is a rock.
Or E clarity,
Damn.
near perfect diamond.
It's a solitaire, an emerald solitaire.
I don't know that word about it.
Is it just one diamond?
One diamond solitaire.
What color
yes.
metal?
A platinum band.
Sounds beautiful.
It's beautiful, simple, incredible ring. I paid $6,000 for it. I will let it go for $4,000 or $3,000.
How should they get in touch with you?
Years
Should they
of my
want
life back.
to buy your
DM me on Instagram. I'm looking to sell it. So
And are
I'd
you
like to
at
get
Ben
that out of my
Gleib on
life.
Instagram?
At Ben Gleib on Instagram.
Okay. Guys, let's move this ring.
Let's move it. Best offer. I'll take best offer.
I've been spending too much time on TikTok lately.
I got it wholesale for that price. This ring would literally sell at Robbins Brothers or a normal ring place for $12,000 to $17,000. You get it for
I should have considered, or we should have considered, Daniel and I should have considered a lab grown diamond. I don't know why we did. I feel like they've gotten more popular of late.
And they're identical.
Yeah, I know. And you can, for the same amount of money, you can get something.
And no one dies to make it.
Right.
So there's that. I think it's a pretty
But I
important
think
factor.
mine has a great history of all the conflict and the death, and I carry that with me.
Into your marriage.
I said I want to start this union with this on our
Can only go up from here.
Yeah, exactly.
Or down and up again.
I watched your eulogy, which you had uploaded. So I laughed. I was moved. So beautiful.
Thanks.
Really, I just, because we talked about it. My dad died.
I'm so sorry about
Thank
your dad's passing as well.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm surprised at how okay I am in a way. I had therapy yesterday, and I said that I feel, to use a word again, but not attached to the P word, I feel emotionally constipated right now. When I first found out, I felt there was a few hours where I was aware that this has not hit me yet. A huge wave of sadness is headed towards me, but it's not here yet. And I almost want to outrun it. This all feels very not real yet. And then of course I felt sad. And now I just it's there's this frost or numbness over my emotions about it. Little things will kind of, I saw a shirt online today and I was like, oh, my dad had a shirt like that. And then I felt a tiny bit of the tectonics kind of move. I am someone who usually is very in touch with my feelings. So it is weird that I can't really access them right now.
Did you get your some crying out of the way after this happened?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was expressing all of it right away. It's not like it's not like I've been frozen the whole time. But, I think at the beginning, I was even though I had spent And by the way, thank you for letting me talk about this when I want to talk about your
Of
dad.
course.
I spent the last, so he had a heart attack 11 months before he died. And we all got the sense that like, oh, his health is much more precarious than we realized when we didn't know how much time there was left. So even though it still was a surprise when he actually died, the timing of it was a surprise. And my mom had gotten his cardiologist on the phone, and his cardiologist had reassured her.
You told me that.
Yeah.
That he was going to be fine.
I feel angry about that.
Yeah.
Like very angry, even though my dad's quality of life had diminished. So had she insisted that he go to the hospital, I don't think they could have even done anything, but even if they could have bought a little more time, I don't know that that's really would have been the best thing, because I kind of just feel like it was just his time.
Right.
And I had made an effort to go spend more time with him over the last year. And I'm like, really glad I did that.
Yeah.
Really glad I did that. I had a really good conversation with him 2 weeks before he died.
Where was he?
Where'd he die?
No, where in the?
Oh, Orange County.
Yeah. Okay, pretty close. That's good.
Yeah. But immediately after he died, I was like, all those years I spent feeling angry about things, I regret that. Like I allowed my own resentment and my own anger to like create distance between him and me, even though it was never bad between us, but I just had my own shit I was working out in therapy regarding my, upbringing and stuff. So, but I regretted that. And I think all I was focused on was like all the good qualities about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think
after
he died.
Right.
And I was like, it's amazing. The anger is totally gone. I wonder if this is just a phase.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, some time passed, and then I was like, oh wait, now I'm getting upset about something from my childhood. Now the pendulum is shifting a little bit. And I think the numbness I'm feeling right now is just trying to assimilate all of it. Which I had tried to assimilate all of it while he was alive, but it's like a new level of assimilation when the person's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So just trying to make sense of like, who was he? What was our relationship? How can I hold at the same time the fact that like he was so funny and he could make you feel so seen and heard. Me, at least. He made me feel those things, and I love him so much, and I got so much of who I am from him, and he was my dad but also there was a lot, he was really like volatile when I was growing up, and he made me feel bad about myself. And I don't like that feeling. Not all the time, but sometimes he had, whatever. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Where are you with everything?
Well, let me just say, like, I think that's very normal to have those conflicted feelings.
Thank you.
I've definitely
Feels
had
confusing.
some of that. It's confusing for sure, and you don't feel like you should have like negative feelings after someone's gone, but then they creep in and you feel like are you being a bad person to have
feel
those
guilty.
thoughts? You
I feel guilty.
I feel more guilty. How am I doing is I'm doing pretty good overall. It's been a very hard 5 months. But there are times where I feel numb and I can like shut it out because you have to. You can't for 5 months not function.
Right.
And then there's still times where all of a sudden I'll see a picture of him or a thought or memory and I'll start crying a little bit, and it hits you in that way. I have not been feeling angry toward him. The things I've been trying to deal with are how much I felt angry toward him during his life and how I like did not hold back in expressing that. And that has been hard a little bit, but I talk about this on stage a little bit too in my new hour about how I've tried to let go of that, and I mostly am letting go of it. There are a few moments I certainly regret, but mostly I'm letting go because I just think it's the nature of parent-child relationships.
Yeah.
They just have an ability to get under our skin and vice versa more than anyone for obvious reasons. They created us. They're the closest people to us. We're dependent on them. But they know our vulnerabilities. And I just think it's the nature of it. The joke I say on stage is that I've made peace with it really, because even if my dad like somehow miraculously came back to life and it would be the most incredible miracle, and we would be like tears of joy and wouldn't be able to believe our eyes. I still don't know if we'd make it 2 hours without some kind of fight, with some kind of argument coming up.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's kind of the nature of it. But it's been interesting because also my mom, loved him so much, but also had a very conflicted relationship with him, and he was not always easy to live with too. And she's not somebody who really expresses a lot to people outside of the family. And now all of a sudden the family's just me and my brother, really, as far as like adults you can talk to. And my brother doesn't live here. And so I really took it upon myself to like be there as my mom's rock and her counselor and fill in my dad's shoes a lot. And so she's had a lot of ups and downs of conflicted emotions with her grief. And so it's like colored my grief to a degree where like I almost feel like moderated in like how I talk about him sometime, or I feel like I have to acknowledge that he wasn't all great. Like everybody tends to lionize somebody after death.
See, that happened to me a little bit. I feel like had I not been on the receiving end of hearing someone else's gripes, I might still be like that diverted me off of my path. And I trust that I'll get back to wherever my path was. But that was a lot of, and like, that's totally legitimate. That was their experience of him. But it gave me a lot of stuff that wasn't my personal stuff to like have to sort of make sense of.
Totally.
It's complicated.
It's really complicated. It's like I expressed that to my mom at one point, and I was like, you could talk to a therapist too. And she's like, I don't believe in that. I don't want to do that. And I'm like, you could talk to your friend. She's like, I just cannot talk to people outside the family about anything negative about your dad. I'm like, and so she's like, but I'm sorry that's affecting your grief. I just won't say it to you anymore. I'll just keep it in my own head. And I said, Mom, don't do that. I'm happy I can take it. I can handle it. And even though I didn't know for sure that I could, I just couldn't. The option to make my mom go through it on her own was not possible for me. And so I just was willing in that instant moment to sacrifice whatever much that derails my own process or colors it. It doesn't matter. Life's for the living, like that key on my neck says. And I want to be there for my mom more importantly than processing my grief about my dad in the exact way I would do it on my own. It's like, you don't live in a vacuum. Nothing's in a vacuum anyway. So, but it's been overall, hard and sad, but beautiful too. I've had moments of beautiful memories. I had to go through all his papers. I had to go through his whole office. I had to go through, I still want to make a better, I have a little shrine in my house to him, but I want to make a better one with all of his memorabilia from his office. He had like a little hall of fame in his office, and I have kept most of it in suitcases now, and I'm going to be finding a spot to put some of it up in my house without making my house look creepy to all outside visitors. And I just, I've gotten to a place where I think about a lot of the positive memories. Seeing his photos at first was very hard because he just seemed so alive in his photos. He like jumped out of these. He was only 72 years old, died suddenly. And, I have anger also to the hospital because I was out of the country and my mom took him to the ER. He was sick. They said, oh, it's just a stomach virus. And 2 days later he drops dead.
And what was it?
We don't know. We're never going to know.
Oh, that's hard.
That's really hard. And it's not the way I would have done it. I would have loved to have done an autopsy, but my family was against it. And I wasn't going to create a fight in my family right after the death either. And so it was another instant moment I had to it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, okay. So another decision point here where I knew instantly I was going to regret that. I was going to always wonder if it's going to eat at me, and I'm going to have to deal with that because
they didn't want to.
I'm not going to create a rift in my family now.
I have heard that people who do opt to do them sometimes regret them because it's like this final indignity to. At the same time, I would also be like, I can't live not knowing.
The thing that I regretted is I was going through a lot of trauma, unexpected trauma, so I wasn't thinking as sharply as I normally do because I'm usually a pretty good debater and I think of really good points. And I just thought of this like a day too late. But when my brother and mom said they didn't want to do that, and then like a few hours later that night, they were like, God, this burying stuff is so weird and gross. Like, when I die, just cremate me and spread my ashes over the ocean. And then the other one was like, I agree, same thing. I don't want that. But I wish I'd thought of what I thought of 24 hours later was like, wait a minute. So you guys think that some poking and prodding and tests on the body is an indignity, but incinerating the body Holocaust style is totally fine.
Oh my God. Thank you for saying this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I'd said that in the moment, I would have convinced them. It would have been the piece of information I could have said to get the autopsy done, and I didn't think of it, and it's another regret. But
this is going to a dark place, but my dad was cremated. And I've always, even though I know like 2/3 of people opt for cremation.
Really?
Yeah. I know that it's very expensive to bury versus like he
the other
did
1/3
Neptune.
prefer their dead bodies black.
Yeah.
Not with no cremation whatsoever.
Right.
That was a coffee joke.
Oh my God, I didn't get it. Now I get it. It's funny.
Cremation versus
No, I get it. Yeah.
cream. You get it.
I get it. I'm with you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. To me, it's so weird. When I think of cremation, I just think of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm
Yeah.
so like creeped out by it.
Yeah.
So it's weird. So we actually on my show's been fun lately. It has not been as dark as I'm making it sound, but there was an episode, a group episode, where we were talking about like, what are your thoughts on being buried versus cremation? And I was like, and I'm not saying this is what I want, but just when I think about a more comforting idea, burial is like more comforting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So many people in the room were like, I would never want to be buried. To me, like cremation releases your soul. I was like, I just don't see it that way. For me personally.
I'm torn. I mean, I've been more opening up to it because I do like the idea of people being able to like get some of it and spread it different places. And I don't think the soul is there, even though weirdly, like very weirdly, when I saw my dad, because he died when I was out of the country, and I wanted to see the body at the funeral before the funeral happened. And it's this very also weird, creepy, dark thing, but like I'd seen dead bodies before and they always looked like their soul was clearly gone. And my dad didn't. He like still looked like himself.
I had the same reaction.
Really?
Is it because it
like so much so where like I like literally like thought hard and still think back to like almost regretting that I wanted to like when no one was looking like karate chop him in the chest and see if it would like wake him up literally. And I like almost regret that I didn't. I'm like, why? Because of societal conventions. I didn't give one last chance to see if my dad could wake up, like those random stories in India where the person wakes up after 3 days or whatever. And so it's a crazy thought, but you know, these are not normal times. What were you going to say about it?
Well, so I had a big debate about whether I wanted to see his body or not. My first instinct was I don't want to. That sounds scary. I don't think I could handle that. And then I talked to a friend who, her name's Colin Perry. She's been on my show. She like works with death and dying and bereavement and grief and things like that. It's like
he was also a great Secretary of State, Colin Powell.
Colin Perry,
yeah.
But yes,
same guy.
Mm-hmm. We talked, and she's like, I would just encourage you to be open to it. Like something in what I was saying was making her think I might be someone where it would be beneficial. Mm-hmm. And ultimately I decided to, and I'm so glad I did. Like it was a very good experience. But in talking to people ahead of time, I heard a lot who like what their decision was. I heard a lot of people say that like there was something about it that they looked at the body and they're like, that's not them. This is just the body. That's not them. And like that offered some closure. But for me, I did not have that experience. I didn't wonder if he was alive or not, but it like, for me, it was a chance to say goodbye to my dad.
Yeah, same.
I didn't feel like I'm just talking to a body and he's not there. Obviously, I knew he wasn't there, you know, but like it was really.
I'm not even certain. I mean, I really felt like maybe my dad like wanted to stay in his body through the service and like hear the service or something. And like I got to like, sounds so creepy to even me. If I would never have done this if I wasn't my dad or whatever. But like, I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to know he was going to be passing, and he looked like himself, and he looked peaceful, but he looked like himself. It was so wild, and I held his cheek for like.
I don't think I touched my dad's face.
Yeah, I held his cheek for like 45 seconds probably, and then I kissed his forehead.
Were you scared to do it? I was a little bit. Yeah,
a little bit.
I was like nervous to touch him. Daniel's like, just use the back of your hand first. So I like touched the back of my hand on his forehead, and then I did end up just like, touching his face and his cheek, and I was so relieved that it felt like he still felt like his face.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like, I don't know what I thought. I didn't think it was past the point of rigor mortis or whatever. Like it just felt normal, cold, but normal.
Yeah. And then, you know, on a more positive note, my dad, you know, you never know what degree these things are in your head or your coping mechanism or they're real, but I feel as though my dad has come to me many times already.
Really?
Yeah. I've always believed that your deceased loved ones can come to you through the wind very easily, and it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then through electronics, and I know that that's what people say as well. And through numbers, my dad loved numbers, but particularly through the wind. And the reasoning why it makes perfect sense to me, and it's another thing I'm trying to develop for the stage, is like people always say, "Oh, our loved ones are up above in heaven, looking down." Like, if heaven exists, why do they have to be above? Would they have like the worst bird's eye view of everything? They can like barely make it. Is that my family or is that a football field? Like,
right.
You can't see anything from up there.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they be here and invisible? And if you think that's impossible, that's ridiculous to think, because we have Wi-Fi. We have
tons
so
of
many
communication.
hidden things invisible that there's actual video of human beings, 4K perfect HD video flying by us at all times in the air. And that's in the physical world, figured out by alive humans. If we can figure out how to like transmute and send like particles that can reconstitute into your phone at a moment's notice with no delay, streaming perfect quality, and phone lines and this and that and telecommunications and radio waves and all of that, but souls that are like already released from the physical world can't fly around instantly and look at this and then go there and then be in Africa in a second, then be back in the US and then be in Dodger Stadium.
Right.
It seems perfect sense they could be. And like, how do you fly and what do you connect to? Like, wind is this like magical, invisible, ethereal force that you feel but you don't see. And it seems to me that, and I've just had moments with the wind with my grandparents too after they passed, and my dad, like, even moments with his humor, like crazy moments. Like after we saw the body, we then went into the family room before the service started, and the rabbi says to us, you know, your father's gone physically, but he'll appear to you in different ways. And right when she says that, the door blows open. And I'm like, did you guys see the door blow open?
Yeah.
And like, the rabbi wasn't even like, he's probably saying it like rote, and she was like, almost downplayed it. I'm like, the door blew open right when you said different ways.
Yeah.
Then we went back to my parents' house after the funeral and everybody came over, and my mom was telling some story towards the back of the living room about, you know, her life, and she mentions, you know, this other guy took me out years before I met your dad, and the back door blows open. Literally like my dad's exact humor and timing, going and holding his belt up, being like holding his pants up that are falling down, being like, what, you mentioned another guy? Should I have another guy that quick? Really? Like, I just felt his humor in that moment, like crazy things. And then I was on acid and had a whole conversation with him in the wind for like 10 minutes. Was crazy.
How was that for you? My friend, do you know Allie Ward? She hosts Ologies podcast.
No.
She did like a very deliberate therapeutic high dose of mushrooms, which I don't think she had ever done actually. Like
she has
month
to hang out in Venice more.
Yeah. A month after her dad died, and it really helped her with her grief. So how was the acid trip?
It was amazing. I mean, I was invited for a new friend's birthday, and it was in Topanga, and it was this beautiful property. Of course it was. And they had this creek there, and I walked down the creek with some friends, and I just said, I'm just going to stay back, and they all walked ahead, and I'm like laying on a rock in the creek and tripping a little bit, but not too heavily or anything. And all of a sudden the wind picks up, and I'm like, Dad, is that you? And like he kept hitting this one tree or these two trees above me, like a call and response to my questions.
Oh, wow.
And so I would say like, Dad, is that you? Really, Dad, is that you? And I would ask him yes or no questions for like 10 minutes. I was just like in tears. He would straight up answer. I would even double check the answers. I'd be like, so you think I should do this thing and not the other? Just a little bit. And I'm like, so double checking. I should do the other thing, but not that. Like a spot on, like it was a conversation. And I'd like to think that was my dad. I even went to a Dodger game. He was the biggest Dodger fan on planet Earth. We went on Father's Day, which was also my birthday this year.
Oh, wow.
And I was born on Father's Day too, and it rarely falls.
I was born on Mother's Day.
Really?
Yeah, the year that I was born. Crazy.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of my mad ones came. One of the most amazing mad ones, Nate, same name as my dad, bought tickets for all of my friends,
Oh my
family,
gosh,
and
that's so
fans to go to a
nice.
Dodger game.
Wow.
And we're all there honoring my dad. And the Dodgers lost the game. That doesn't even matter. There's just one player that has his favorite number, 33, Outman, and he kept having me signed through this guy, I felt like, since he passed. In the middle of the game, there was like a key play. Dodgers were down, and he hits like this incredible triple that scored a couple runs and gave the Dodgers a chance in the game. And right after that hit, that guy Nate, my friend Nate, my buddy, says, "Do you guys feel that wind that just hit our face?" And all of us felt this like gust of wind in the seats. You don't ever hardly have a gust of wind at Dodger Stadium. It's like, it's a circle, it's an arena. There's not wind like getting even into it. It's very rare. And we just all were hit in the face right at that moment. Like, where everybody was like, whoa, I felt it. Like, so who knows? There's no way to prove if that's my dad. But I'd like to think it is. And sorry, one more thing on that is like, I'm even conflicted about these thoughts too, because something that has given me a little bit of guilt a few times is I really want to believe these things are my dad, but then it almost feels like selfish, or like, am I just believing that to ease my grief? Like, oh, he's not really gone. He's still communicating with me. And so it's not as sad. He's in this place. He said he was free up there and he feels free in the wind. And is that like something I'm just selfishly believing so I don't have to like feel the finality and the deep, 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 deep sadness of him being fully gone?
But why is that selfish?
Because if it's not evidence-based, if it's not true, and I'm just thinking it subconsciously somewhere to make it easier on myself, and then I'm not honoring my dad by like really grieving him as though he's fully gone, is that like something I'm doing just for me instead of keeping grounded to reality and what might be more likely that it's not him? It's a similar thought to when people say like, they're still alive in your heart, in your memory. I'm like, no, they're not. They're alive for me.
Yeah,
but a little bit, but the person is gone. They don't have their own heart and memories anymore, and as far as we know.
Right.
So when people try to make you feel better, like they're always alive in you, they're not. It's called a memory. It's not. They're not alive. So, and I feel like that those thoughts that are supposed to give you comfort sometimes make me a little bit mad. Where I'm like, I just don't think that's really true. Yeah, they're not forgotten, but doesn't mean they're alive.
Right.
But then again, I feel my dad in the wind, and I feel like he's alive that way. And so it's all very complicated. Nobody knows the answers. What's the answers, Allison?
I wish I knew. I have not experienced that kind of stuff with my dad, and I want to. Like, I am universe. If you're listening, the universe listens to my
I think it
podcast.
does.
Yeah, they subscribe.
The universe is your new best friend.
Yes, I am open to all those kind of things. It's
There's a book you're supposed to read that people tell me you're supposed to read called Signs from the Universe.
Signs from the Universe. Okay,
and it specifically talks about how you can like tune into that stuff.
I mean, a tiny bit. Like, there was this book that my therapist mentioned that I ordered, and it was only available used. And the inscription inside was "To John," and my dad's name was John. So that did.
And I've heard about inscriptions in books. Second time I've heard about this in the last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That felt significant.
Whoa.
But other than that, there haven't
that book
been.
that I just mentioned, somebody else on their social posted about it. They sent it to a loved one who was going through grief of a recent loved one, and somehow Amazon sent 2 copies randomly to another person, who then reached out to the person who sent it and said, I just lost somebody, and the book came addressed to the same name, and they received it, and it helped them so much. Like, really weird.
That's weird. What about dreams? Has he been in your dreams?
Yeah, I've had some very crazy ones. He's only really been in my dreams in like a very intense way. It was more towards the beginning, where I think because he went so suddenly, I had dreams that he was like alive again, but then like in the dream he would like die in front of me.
God.
Like he would come back. All of a sudden he was like back. I'm like, Dad, you're back. But he wouldn't be able to talk. But he'd be like walking around. Then he would like get weaker in the course of this dream. And then all of a sudden, like I would like experienced him passing a couple of times in my dreams. That was very, very hard. But also maybe gave me a little bit of closure in some way. I got to sort of see it or something.
I believe, or rather my own experience of various types of, I've only lost one father, but I've
lost 3 fathers.
Really? Okay.
All three
That's
of them 5
trendy
months
now.
ago. It is.
Having multiple fathers is trendy.
2 boyfriends, 3 fathers.
My own experience of various types of death is that the sudden ones are harder. My therapist has said that she thinks that like the grief is kind of, it doesn't matter how the person died, they're still just as gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think having to acclimate to the suddenness and the feeling, at least when I lost someone suddenly, of like, I don't trust the world anymore. This was not supposed to happen.
Right.
I feel like it could happen again. It's like there's a real being blindsided is really like versus this where it wasn't like, I think losing someone to cancer where it's like, okay, they probably only have a couple of days left. That's my sense of how it often goes and you can go and you can say goodbye. Like it wasn't that, but at the same time, we knew it, for a while we knew losing him wasn't out of the question, you know? And I just think that it's just been a much easier adjustment.
For it to be a little bit of warning.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's what I sort of concluded. My mom thinks the opposite. She thinks that it's so hard to see a loved one like slowly deteriorate and see them suffer.
Oh, that was really hard. I will say. I mean, that was like awful and hard. But in terms of the actual just going from like, for you, like I'm in Costa Rica,
Right.
I'm going to go home and see my dad.
Right.
And then like, just
Right.
boom. Did you even know he had gone to the hospital?
No, they didn't tell me because I talk to my dad every day, but when I go on vacations, they usually don't call me. They let me like have a full vacation. And so I didn't even know. I literally just got a text from my mom saying, Dad is not breathing. And then another text, Dad is dead. And I missed those texts. I had fallen asleep and my mom calls me at 1:30 in the morning.
God.
And I was like, it's 1:30 in the morning and I was not fully sober either. And so I was like, is everything okay? And she goes, no, Dad is dead.
Oh my God.
And like with like 3 words, I had no warning, and all of a sudden my dad was gone.
Oh.
It was really crazy. It was very, very intense. But yeah, I tend to think that it would be just more, I don't know if it's easier or harder, but more cathartic and more like heart centered and like more like beautiful and powerful to be able to say goodbye, even if there's some pain involved in it. I think it would be better for both sides. I kind of think I certainly would prefer to be able to say goodbye and say my last thoughts to my loved ones and to the world.
Yeah.
Rather than just having that yanked away. It seems pretty cruel to me. So that's what I think. But, you know, my dad also, I don't think would have handled a slow demise well. He always I said in my eulogy, I always commented that he didn't want to be an old man. He would comment to my mom all the time. He'd see like old men with walkers in the mall and be like, I don't ever want to become that.
Yeah. And then you said that funny that I laughed at this and she'd be like, oh, that's a real original thought.
Yeah. Exactly. But my dad, I guess, really meant it. And he always talked about dropping dead. You know, he said to this girl that I've been seeing, just 3 weeks before he died, she came over to my house for like Passover dinner, and he said to her in the office, in his memorabilia office, when I drop dead, they can fight over this stuff. And he would always say to me, like, when I drop dead, are you going to feel good about the way this conversation went? Like, no one talks about dropping dead typically.
Right.
My dad did. He kind of called his shot, you know, but you know, people always also say that it's a shame that people's funerals happen after they die.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be nice to hear all those things? And I think that's another benefit probably of somebody passing more slowly. But as the universe somehow works, you know, I got the last 6 months of my dad's life, our fights largely stopped. We still would bicker, but we wouldn't like have big fights anymore at all. And that's the one thing, by the way, that I also do really credit my ex-fiance for, is because one of the things that, like, you know, I think I'm a pretty even-keel person overall, but I think we all have our push points. And I grew up in a very tumultuous household. We fought a lot. We screamed a lot. We shouted a lot. And so sometimes when pushed to extremes, I lose my temper. I have in the past. And so when we were in the last 6 weeks of our relationship working through it, she asked me if I would take an anger management class, and I happily did so. And it changed my relationship to anger.
Really?
In the now year and a half since, almost year and a half, I completely do not experience anger in that same way. I've not lost my temper to that degree at all. I feel completely in control of it, even though it wasn't enough, I guess, for her to change her mind. That's the one gift, just luckily, I thank her for, the universe through her for, is that because she asked me to do that the last 6 months of my dad's life, we got along so much better than we ever did. And we didn't get to, say a proper goodbye as he was literally dying, but we had our goodbyes. Very weirdly, our last conversation, I think I said this in the LG too, right before our last one-on-one conversation before he passed, he said, I need to tell you where my will is. And our last 8 hugs were goodbye hugs. There was something in the air. Mm-hmm. We felt like he knew something was happening. I felt just extra loving. He'd walk me out to my car when I would leave dinner at my parents' house, and I would just give him the warmest hug and feel his cheek pressed against mine and tell him that I love you so much. I love you so much. Thank you for everything. And it was these beautiful moments, 8 different times. Mm-hmm. And then even this level of beautiful goodbye we got to have, he watched Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I was going to say Benicio del Toro's Pinocchio, but that one's a lot harder to understand. And he wanted to watch it again with me. Oh. He really wanted to watch it with me. And so my mom and dad and I watched it. I sat in the middle of them on the couch in the living room. And crazily, this is pretty uncharacteristic of us, but the very end part of the movie, when Pinocchio's father, Geppetto, dies, I was holding hands with my mom and dad.
Oh my God.
And when he dies, my dad and I both burst out in tears while holding hands.
That's so
just
sweet.
2 months before he died, making so clear how much love we had between us and how sad it would be when my dad dies and he would have to leave me behind. And that's a goodbye.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, that's so sweet and so sad. Yeah, it is interesting how you go back and you think about all those memories at the end and how they take on all this new meaning. And
it's very intense. It's very intense. But the other thing that gives me any solace, and it's a shame that it's at the expense of others who sadly lose people much younger. But even at 72, just slightly under the life expectancy of humans. My mom and brother and I consider it very lucky that we had him for 72 years. I had him for 45 years of my life.
Right.
There's so many people that I know that somehow get past it and not get over it, but survive and lost their dads when they were 20.
Yeah.
And they were 10.
I know.
And they were 7.
Right.
And so it's how could I think it's a tragedy and the worst thing ever when I got to live into middle age with my father and be very close with him in a relationship that many said they envied and wish they could have with their kids that way, when people don't ever get to meet their fathers or they lose them so quickly. And so those are much more tragic. And, people die at some point. And as I've said, is if you had to, draw straws, of course we'd all prefer 100 years old, but if we had to draw straws of what age we would die and you pulled 72,
you wouldn't feel robbed.
You would be damn, all right, I wish I got 90, but at least I didn't get 20. At least I didn't get 30, 50, 60. Right. It's a pretty decent draw.
Yeah.
It's a good run.
Yeah.
89 is amazing.
Yeah. And
really amazing. I mean,
yes, it is. It
doesn't make it easier, but a little bit maybe it does.
And also seeing how he was uncomfortable at the end and not happy, and the quality of life had diminished so much. And I mean, it actually I'm someone who always is I want to live to 110, because I know so many, I don't know if it's a male podcaster thing. I know plenty of dudes who are I don't want to live past 70. I
can't stand that. My dad would say the same shit. He wanted to live to 80. And I had to argue with him. Can you set your goal at 90 at least? And he was fighting it. Yeah. But right now I just had not to bring up a major different thought, but
no, that's fine.
But I talked about, in the eulogy also is our last he talked about towards the very end, last few months, he had some extra health things that kind of came up, and he was really concerned and talking about his impending death all the time. Where our last dinner together, I literally had to say, Dad, can we get through one dinner without talking about your impending death? But the really messed up thought I just had right now is instead of saying that sarcastic comment, if we had taken that comment more seriously, I might have like gone to one of my really rich friends and said like, my dad thinks something is wrong. Is there a way you could loan me like $3,000 and we could get that like full body MRI and see what's up with my dad and maybe save his life, you know? But also in fairness, that's a little bit of a boy cried wolf situation on his part, because if he hadn't always talked about that kind of stuff historically, we would have taken it probably more seriously. But like it really just seemed like he was dramatizing, you know, and or having thoughts that weren't rational, even though he had some health things that came up, but doctors were looking at them and observing it and thought he was okay. And so it's like at some point you also can't, he saw things through a negative lens oftentimes, and you can't just like uproot your life and think, oh, dad said a negative thing, let's go.
Right. No, especially not if it was a pattern. And maybe he had some sense, or maybe it actually was just coincidence at the end. I don't know. It also, and I'm sure you've already thought this, but like it's possible that they could have done that full body MRI and not seen whatever it was, right? Because it could have been something that popped up.
Totally. It probably was. It probably, we started bleeding internally or something and died. Yeah, it's very possible. Totally true.
So the doctors didn't have any, they didn't know.
No. They said he was a stomach virus. Go home, give him rice and toast for the next few days, and
they sent him home.
He'll be fine. Sent him home.
Oh.
And 2 days later, he collapsed. So he thought he was fine. He got to watch his Dodgers win on TV. I have a Ring camera video of him like 4 hours before he died, just walking shirtless out in the front yard, looking to get in the mail or something.
Yeah.
Like he looked tired and groggy and kind of sick, but not on the doorstep of death.
Right.
You know, but I guess that's how you look when it happens suddenly. So it's crazy. And like, it's a big part of the impetus of why I've lost a bunch of weight recently too. And trying to be healthy is like, he was, you know, overweight, technically obese. He didn't exercise rigorously. He didn't eat healthily rigorously. He was okay, but not great, and overate. And I want to reduce the odds of that happening to me too, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
I'd like to be healthy. Plus, also girls really like it when you're skinnier.
Especially in Venice.
100%.
Right.
No, it's like, and again, not that skinniness is some great virtue, but you should definitely feel as healthy body-wise as you want to and create the body that you're happiest with. And I was not happy with how I looked and felt.
Let's shift gears.
Great.
But thank you for sharing all this with me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Let's do, if you happen to have, you're welcome. Do you happen to have a Just Me or Everyone?
I do, and they're not death themed. My Just Me or Everyone is not death themed.
Amazing. Okay, let's hear a song.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
Okay, what is your Just Me or Everyone?
When somebody asks what your ETA is, when you're heading somewhere, and especially if you're a little bit late, do you do what I do, which is I will take off a few minutes because I know I'm going to usually beat the time the GPS says, so I'd rather not have them be extra disappointed when I know I'm going to probably get there a little bit earlier, and even if I end up being there at that time, it's an extra 3 minutes, but now they've adjusted their brain to at least expect me to be a little bit later. And so do you do that? Do you fudge it a little bit what the GPS says?
If I'm late to a dentist appointment, this is literally the only time I've done this. Actually, I'm not sure it's the only time, but if I am like going to be a little bit late to an appointment, I will call and I'll shave a few minutes off of when I'm going to be there because I don't know. It's like I'm afraid they're going to be mad at me if I tell them the truth thing, but generally I don't. But I also don't go out very often, so I don't have to do this very often.
You must have done it outside. There's the dentist. Really, just the dentist? The only one you are concerned about the time perception?
So what you're saying is like Waze says you're going to get there at 4:29 and you say to them, I'll be there at 4:25?
Yeah.
Because I don't actually beat GPS. I never do.
I beat it almost every time. But I just drive faster and I take all the, turns and change lanes. And
so much of my life exists at my house. I'm really trying to think of and then I'm sure I have. I'm sure you're not the only one. But I don't think that I do that very often.
Okay. I'm curious to see if your listeners do, but how about a variation of it?
Okay.
and I partly did this with you on the way here because I was late, and you said don't worry about it.
I didn't mind. Yeah.
But blame it on traffic, even though, and there is traffic. I never make up there's traffic if there's traffic, but if there is a thick patch of traffic, I'll say traffic's crazy right now, even though, I mean, I live in LA, I should know there's traffic and should factor that in.
Right.
But I still use traffic as an excuse, and I hope and I kind of hope or expect people to like really be like, oh, okay, there's traffic, I should be chill about this, even though it's a pretty reasonable guess there's going to be traffic in a major city.
I guess so, but I just assumed like, oh wow, there must be extra traffic.
It's felt that way. Like when I said it to you, I was before the interchange of the next freeway, and it was just barely moving. I was going like 15. It was thick as can be, and I didn't know how long that was going to last, and it seemed thick, so it was true to say it.
Yeah.
But also, you know, a minute later, I went to the next freeway, and it was empty, and I was able to fly. But,
I mean, to be honest, you're supposed to be here at 4:30. I almost got in touch with you like an hour before and said, can we do 5?
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. And then I was like, Allison, get your shit together. Be an adult.
Would have been great for me if you weren't an adult and said 5. I was scrambling to get here.
Well, I tried to reassure you because I said no rush. Yeah, because it really was fine. Yeah, it really was fine because I had felt like I thought like maybe I could use. I actually was ready at 4:30, but when you said initially 4:38, I was like, oh great, like I used the extra time, so it was fine. Okay, do you have a hey go fuck yourself?
I do.
Let's hear it.
And it's Venice related. Venice people related.
I love it.
Who are my new dearest favorite people. But I still can make observations. And I think some people take it a little too far. I overheard somebody saying the other day, I'm looking for a new apartment. No, sorry, she didn't say it. She said, I'm calling in the perfect apartment. And I just immediately thought, how about just look for the fucking apartment? Yeah. The universe isn't going to get involved in everything. Can you handle your apartment search? There's search apps. There's websites. Just search for the exact criteria of apartment you want. Be a little proactive. I'm just calling it in. I'm just calling in the perfect apartment. You're going to call the perfect lunch? I hope the lunch order comes to me from the universe. Just choose your favorite food. So there's that.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
That is hilarious. I think I agree with you.
Thank you.
Save the calling in for hearing from your deceased father.
Yes.
I'm calling in signs.
Yes.
But go find your own apartment.
100%.
Is West Side Rentals still around? Do you remember them?
God, I hope so. I do remember them.
Ben Gleib, it has been so nice to have you on the show.
Same.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to tell everyone that the next virtual show that you're doing at Nowhere Comedy Club.
NowhereComedy.com.
That's right. It's going to be October 28th. It's your improv show, Gleib Off the Top, but it's the Halloween Spectacular.
4th annual Halloween Spectacular.
Oh, I got it wrong.
Yeah, it's not a Halloween Spectacular.
I auto-corrected it. Yeah.
It's a Halloween Spectacular.
Got it.
And we can smoke during the show together. Your camera and mic are on. It's a small, intimate group. It'll be like 40 to 60 people together hanging out, and you really are part of this mad town that we create in this virtual world. And we hang out. I take questions. We talk. We laugh together. It's in a big studio where I see you on 30 feet of video screen. So it's really a very fun experience for the audience. And I hope you get a ticket. Just go to bengleib.com or nowherecomedy.com and get a ticket and join us. I think you'll really enjoy it. It will be a lot. We'll not be talking about death, although it is a Halloween show. So it might be like funny,
right? Like
spooky costumes and jokes, but nothing.
Not like this.
Not like this.
Not like this downer.
No, I don't think it was a downer. I think it was beautiful. I think it's the only podcast I've talked about my dad passing on. I believe so.
Oh.
And I think it was really, interesting because you and I both have gone through the same experience very recently. And so I really appreciated this chance.
I did too. Thank you. What were your social media things? Throw those out.
At Ben Gleib, BenGleib. I really hope everybody follows me. I'm addicted to it. I spend too much time on it. So you may as well get the benefit of the free content. 3 stand-up videos a week I release. On all my socials, Threads, TikTok, but mostly Instagram.
And follow me on social media at Allison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. The Allison Rosen. That's right. The Allison Rosen on TikTok. Subscribe to my YouTube, youtube.com/Allison Rosen.
Ooh, my YouTube, youtube.com/BGleib. I'm really climbing there, longer form videos there.
Do it. I'm on Patreon. Are you on Patreon?
I am. Patreon.com/Ben Gleib. Lots of fun perks, intimate hangs, one-on-one hang. There are your personal letters. You get a Gleib Squad metal membership card. The new cards are coming out soon.
I have cards too, but they're not metal.
Yeah,
Where do you get those?
Cool. There's a vendor on Etsy. I can give you the info.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I have it.
After 12 of your listeners subscribe for mine first, because I can't have you poaching that.
Yeah, no, I understand. Well,
perk that I got.
You can get a non-metal card. Maybe they don't want to have to constantly, worry about it when they're going through airport security.
Yeah.
Patreon.com.
And maybe they want TSA to know about their fandom for me, and they do want airport security stopping them and maybe joining the fandom. So there's two ways to look at that.
I guess there is, yes. The wallet is half full or half empty, depending on how you feel about the card.
Yep.
Patreon.com/Allison Rosen. And then also my merch store is live. Please go there. People have been sending me pictures of them wearing my merch, and it makes me so happy. And I would like you to make me happy. So go to AllisonRosen.com and click on the banner that says my merch store is live. There's t-shirts, mugs, all sorts of fun stuff.
Okay, I guess they can get Mad Ones merch too
yeah.
at BenGleib.com. If you want to be a Mad One, you can. It's not even, doesn't even say Ben on a lot of my stuff. It's just Mad One's gear, and it's cool.
Not on mine says Allison Rosen.
It does?
Not all.
Oh,
of
not
it.
all of it.
Some,
Great.
Some of it does, but not all of it. Yeah. Depends.
Nice to have choices. Some mine does too.
There's so many options.
So much.
Oh my God.
I'd love to see somebody wearing a hat of yours and a shirt of mine,
Oh my God. Mix it up. A
Mix
mashup.
it up. Yes.
Fusion.
100%.
Couture fusion. Ben,
Allison Couture de le Gleib.
what is that?
I don't know. Allison Couture with my name.
I like it. It sounded like the beginning of a Jane's Addiction song.
Thank you.
No one will get that reference. But,
Me either.
But you rolled with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're an improv guy.
Yes.
Listeners, thank you for... Ben, thank you. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen Show?